All right, welcome back. So now that we do have our infrastructure set up through our Docker Compose and Docker Compose files, we're ready to start talking about producers and consumers. And today in this lesson, we're going to talk about the producers. So the producers are the entities, the applications, or the systems that are going to send data to the topics, right? They're going to write data to the topics. So we can see here on the left, the producer is the one that's going to send information to the broker and the topic inside of it. Okay, so how does it do that? So what exactly does the producer do? And there are a couple of steps that producers follow to be able to send the information, and we're going to see later as well how those steps impact other characteristics of the Kafka. All right. So the first thing that the producers do is to serialize the data, the records. Remember that we're talking about bytes, so it doesn't understand uh, typed information like integer, string. Kafka only understands bytes, so we need to serialize this. We still are going to talk about this a little bit later in depth. And after the producer serializes the record, it's going to choose a partition. After it chooses the partition, it's going to batch the records per partition and send those batches over the network to the broker leader, waiting then for an acknowledgement. Okay, so if you look here on the left, we have our producer here. It's going to send data to the leader. The leader is going to replicate this to the replica, and then the replica is going to send back and acknowledge of write. That means that that information was persisted. Then it's gonna send a response to the producer. Okay, so how does the producer choose the partition? Remember that I told right on the first lesson on the log one that generally the record is of type key value. So if a key is provided, the same key goes to the same partition. All right. Otherwise, if it's optional, so if we just send the value, we don't send any key, Kafka will use what we call a sticky partitioner, which keeps sending the data to one partition for a while to help improve batching. Okay, so before, as I mentioned here, after choosing the partition, it batches the records per partition. So the producer will batch those messages per partition to reduce the network call. So it's not going to send a single record one after the other to reduce the number of calls to the network. It's going to batch this information first and then send it those batches to the partition. So when a batch is full or we have a short timer expiration, then that batch of information is sent to the broker. Okay, this is what gives Kafka the high throughput because it turns many small writes into fewer bigger ones. Okay, and then so selects the partitions, serialize it, and sends to replica, and then there is a acknowledge back that sends it. So after the broker writes the batch to its log, it's gonna send an acknowledgement back, just what I just seen in this process. So we have three types of acknowledge types, acknowledge values that we can get. If the acknowledge is 0, we're saying don't wait to get anything. If this configuration for the acknowledgement is 0, we're saying don't wait, just keep sending, don't wait for an acknowledgement. If we're saying the acknowledge to be 1, then we want the leader to confirm that the information was written. And if we say acknowledgement equals to all, we want to wait for all of the replica to get this response back to the producer. And this will impact later, and you're going to see how we talk about delivery guarantees in the future, how those the acknowledge comes into play. Okay, so if it's 0, if we set it the acknowledgments to be 0, don't wait for anything, sends the information, whatever gets there, it got there. If it's 1, we just wait for the leader to confirm that information. We're not talking about the replica, just the leader. The leader needs to receive the information and sends it back. If we say acknowledgement to be all, we're going to wait for all of the replicas as well to confirm the receivement of that information. All right. So one important feature here is that producers can retry to send the information automatically if a send fails, and the Kafka's producer will keep track of the sequence number to prevent duplicates. And they're also going to talk more about this on the delivery guarantee section. All right. So that's all for the producer, and in the next lesson we're going to talk about the consumers. See you there.